Today, we will be looking at episode 5 and 4 of The Last of Us. Here we go. So, these episodes probably should have just been paired up together to start off with. I mean, they kind of go together. They probably should have just released this as a movie. The way 4 ends, I didn't think it was really worth talking about. It was very just setup orientated. But these are the episodes where we get into the reasons why people love The Last of Us, and that ending is exactly what the show needs to be. And you see throughout this episode how Sam and Henry kind of how close they are, and the things they change in this episode from the video game are perfect. I mean, you tell it was mostly perfect, I guess. The only thing I didn't like that they changed or they added was this Melania character. The antagonist in this did not exist in the video game. I don't think she was very good. I think she was kind of generic, kind of angry, not very intelligent. And maybe it was written that way on purpose, but knowing what's coming, she should be forgotten. This felt kind of, I don't know, week to week villain kind of ordeal where this character is not as well written as other characters. And it didn't seem like it was as thought out as it should have been. Listening to them talk about it on the podcast, she is not the focus of this episode, I guess. They have a little reason why they brought her in, but I don't know. She just seems like a bad villain, and then she gets taken out by the big monster at the end. So that's the only thing I really didn't like. The other thing that I'm kind of like, the infected are kind of OP. Like, they all kind of just swarmed up and came out of the ground and got everyone, and they're kind of just wild, and you can't really stop that, I guess. I guess that's kind of the point. I guess it's kind of how it differs from the game, because in the game they are kind of just wandering. They're not all together, but like they explained in an early episode, they're all together. But besides that, this episode is what I think of Last of Us as a really character-driven show. It was a really character-driven video game. The things that they added, I don't think take away from like this part of this video game. I don't think this is the peak of the video game. I think we're building to that, and you'll see it. But the ending is what it's about. It's about the relationships. The very first podcast, they talk about Neil Druckmann talks about how love and how it's not always good, and it can be intoxicating, it can be bad, it can drive people mad, I guess, and it shouldn't be always shown in this beautiful way, like we did with Bill at the very beginning, 2 episodes back, or I guess 1 episode back from 4, it was 3, but that showed love in a kind of a beautiful way, but it ended in a double suicide. This shows, I guess, how love pushes people in the wrong direction and a bad direction, with the villain that I didn't care for, but then also when Henry he shot himself, he didn't know how to handle himself, and then also when Henry did a horrible thing and he's saying, "Am I the bad guy?" So I appreciate that kind of dialogue. I think it makes characters more interesting when it's not black and white, like I'm clearly good or clearly bad. That's why I enjoyed BoJack Horseman, a show that I beloved and many other people beloved. But I think it paints us in perfect light that sometimes we do horrible things for other people. And I think that was the kind of love that Neil is pointing at, and I'm guessing we'll see more of that, not just based off what I've seen from the video games, but the way they talked about in this recent podcast. There's more of this to come. But yeah, like I said, overall this episode is really good. I get frustrated with some of the parts, but it's not. I get what I want from this show. Like, not all of it's perfect, but it doesn't have to be. I also appreciate the callback to the video games. There are so many things where I'm looking at, and I'm like, oh my god, that's from the game, that's from the game, that's from the game. And it gets me. I love that, especially when they pick up little points of dialogue like there were in episode 4 at the very beginning when you're looking through the comic book, or looking through the Nudie magazine, I guess. the pages being stuck together. I love that stuff. I'm glad that they keep putting that stuff in there. And from what I've heard from other people, uh, they enjoy it too. It works both ways, and hinting at stuff from the video games. And the most of the part, I see why they changed some stuff. One of the big changes was Sam being deaf, and after hearing them explain it, I kind of buy it, but it also sounded like a cop out, kind of, because they didn't want to have that same kind of dialogue of like father with child, which Sam and Henry could have been. And if you're with them by themselves, they would kind of come off the same as Joel and Ellie. But I don't know. I feel like that's just taking out of the risk of not, I don't know, having that brother relationship a little bit. Although they do get that, but I see what they say with what they are saying, but you could have had it both ways. But in all honesty, it doesn't matter because they absolutely kill it. The story behind them getting this kid is kind of crazy. So if you haven't listened to podcasts, go listen to their podcast. Like I said, overall, this episode is really good. I am looking forward to next week. Hopefully we get to see Tommy. I'm guessing we'll see Tommy next week. I haven't watched the previews yet, but let me know what you all think down in the comment section, and I'll talk to you all next time. Ciao.